All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else. In the video I'm bringing you today, we are doing a theory crafted for an AOE Magplar for the Scalebreaker DLC. Now, I wouldn't look too much into the armor sets because, as is the case with all of these, this is not a tested build. Like, this is not what I'm going to settle on. This is just what I think I'm going to use. So I'm going to go through all the options. I'm going to show you like what's best. At the end of the day, guys, it's going to come down to how many people you're fighting, how well you can play Magplar, how much you can sustain, like how little sustain you need. Like all these little things are going to impact, what your final build's going to be. So just because I'm running one thing doesn't mean that's what's going to be best for you. Maybe for you it's going to be something completely different. So we're going to dive into the gear that I chose, and then we're going to go through alternatives because there's going to be a lot of alternatives for this. So the first thing we're choosing, guys, is we're going to go with Overwhelming Surge on the front bar. Overwhelming Surge got a rework in the Scalebreaker DLC. 2, 3, and 4 piece is fantastic for damage. And then the 5 piece, when you deal damage with the class ability, you have a 33% chance to surround yourself with a torrent that deals 1237 shock damage to enemies within 12 meters of you every second for 6 seconds. So it doesn't look like a ton of damage, but it's every second for 6 seconds. So you have 6 seconds of this. 15% of the damage you deal this way is restored to you as Magicka. So this is also a sustained set. I did the math on it, and it was like roughly 100-ish recovery, I think. If I remember correctly, it's like 100-ish recovery per person you hit. So it actually can be quite a bit. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. So if you're attacking a bunch of people with Overwhelming Surge on, you can have basically 100% uptime on Overwhelming Surge. Now watch, as soon as it goes down, I'm going to hit him with jabs again. And look, Overwhelming Surge is up because I'm hitting 24 people, but yeah, you can have 100% uptime in an outnumbered fight with Overwhelming Surge. So it's going to be very useful for damage and sustain. I have it on the jewelry, and I have it, as the lightning staff. Now, you have to farm this. Luckily, Overwhelming Surge has Nadir's Thundering Staff, which is a specialty lightning staff. So getting the lightning staff, it's a farm. Regardless, like, it is going to be a bitch sometimes. RNG is a pain in the ass. But luckily, they do have a specialty staff, so you get a few more chances for specifically the lightning staff. So it's not, quote unquote, too bad to get, relative to other farms. So just because you have that extra chance for a drop, it's still going to take a little bit because, RNG is a bitch, but that's what it is. We're going to run the Maelstrom's Resto Staff on the back bar. Now, there are obviously a lot of room. There's a lot of room to do something else. The reason we're running the Maelstrom Resto Staff is because, as a Templar, we have a pretty nice AOE heal now with our Purify, and if we run Mutagen, or the new morph of it, we can hit up to 3 people with it, and it gives us our sustain. So Maelstrom Resto has a chance to give us 400 recovery. And it also can heal a bunch of people. So if we're running in a group, which we probably will with an AoE style Magplar, I would definitely recommend running this at least in a duo or a trio. We have that little ability to help people there. I'd run defending on the back bar. And then as far as monster sets, I'm going to go with Bloodspawn, but I'm going to strongly consider Grotthar. It just kind of depends on how squishy you're going to be. Bloodspawn gives you Ultigen, it gives you Stamp Sustain, and it makes you a little bit more tanky, which is going to be, all those are very nice when you're fighting outnumbered. So probably stick with Bloodspawn, and then Buffer of the Swift. Now, you can probably go Protective Jewelry or like Lady Mundus or something like that on other sets, but what Buffer of the Swift is getting you is just so much. And so I'd have a really hard time taking this off my bar, to be honest. If you're wearing all light armor, max Magicka, spell and physical resistance, and reduce damage from players by 10%. Like that's just such a nice damage mitigation 5-piece that allows you to wear light armor, and then you get that extra pen. So obviously there are other choices. You could run spinners. You could run Bright Throat. Like Bright Throat would work out pretty well. My race is a Breton, so if I ran Bright Throat, I'd have to run like the Tri-Stat Drink, which isn't a bad option. Like you could obviously do that, do Protective Jewelry, go front bar, Overwhelming Surge. You could do that. That would work. If you're fighting severely outnumbered, I'd consider 5 Overwhelming on the body, front bar Vicious Death. You could do that too. and then you have your proc of overwhelming, and then basically once one person dies, they pop. It all depends on how many people you're fighting. Like if you're 3 people and you're fighting 10, maybe you're not going to get as much benefit out of Vicious Death as you would out of Swift. I don't know. It's just going to kind of depend on what you're fighting, but I'd probably get a little bit of everything and then try it all out. So it's not so much the gear, in my opinion. This is, like I said, this is where I would start. It's the skills. And so for an AOE Magplar, I think you want your sweeps. Proximity detonation, of course. There's no cap on the amount of people you can hit with this. And the more people you hit, the more damage it does. So this is going to be fantastic. Solar Barrage. It did get nerfed, but it still is nice AOE pressure. Reflective Light, once again, AOE, and it's a snare. It hits 3 people. You could probably flip this out for entropy if you wanted the spell buff. It's just up to you, like what you prefer. Like you want more AOE damage, or do you want the major sorcery to buff all your dots? And Soul Splitting Trap. Soul Splitting Trap is obviously a huge buff in the Scalebreaker DLC. You cast it once. Anybody within 8 meters of the person you cast is now taking the dot damage. So it is a huge AOE dot. It is a lot of pressure. It's almost a must-have on your bar, especially for this type of build. Now, you could run, there's a few things you could run here. You could run Crescent. You can run, like on the back bar, I have Solar Prison, which is Nova. Having somebody activate a Nova would be very effective. You could run Destrolt. It just kind of depends on, what you want. Do you want Eye of the Storm, where it's on you the entire time, or do you want the quicker Crescent to where you hit a few people, they drop over, and then you can potentially have it really quickly again? I don't know. I'm going to probably stick with the Crescent Solar Barrage or Solar Prison, because I kind of feel like that's a good combo of, good quick ultimate plus really heavy hitting ultimate. But up to you to figure out what you want to do. Radiating Regeneration. This is the other morph. This is the new morph of Mutagen. It can hit you or up to 3 people. 15, 7, 74 health over 10 seconds. So this is a very nice AOE buff for your group. Channeled Focus, once again, our major resolve and our major ward. Race Against Time, just beautiful, beautiful skill. Snare removal. It also gives us minor force, so when we crit on our proximity detonation, we're going to hit even harder. I really love this skill. Talked about it a lot. Honor the Dead and Extended Ritual. Now, don't look at the tooltips too much, guys. I am on the PTS. I do not have all the enchants properly where I want them. I would want all spell damage, because right now I'm at 1468 magic recovery. So I dropped that down to about 1,000, and then I would jump my spell damage up to about 2,000. So unbuffed. But these are our stats, the way it currently sits. And so if you look at it, if you look at our stats where they would be with the enchants where I'd want, it would be around 1,000 magic recovery, plus 500 with the rune, plus 400 with the resto staff on the back bar, plus X amount with Overwhelming Surge. So we're going to have over 2k magic recovery with Overwhelming Surge, and I'm going to show you guys what happens when we're, when we have Overwhelming Surge up, fighting outnumbered. It's really hard to run out of magicka. As far as our spell and physical resist goes, we're at 30,000 spell, 23,000 physical. If we, I actually transmute this really quick because I didn't realize that my resto staff was not defending. That's just a noob mistake. So we're gonna go do that really quickly because it's right here. But we'll actually have a decent. We have decent resistances before Blood Spawn procs, and so that's just going to come down to whether or not... There we go. And so when we buff up, once again, you'll see we'll be at 33k spell, 26k physical. So that puts us up to 38k spell when Blood Spawn procs, and we'll be at 32 physical. So these are pretty good resistances. I am wearing the Lady Mundus. The Lady Mundus does give us pretty good spell and physical resistance. If you want more, obviously change your jewelry to protective. It's not bad. It's not a bad way to go. But this is around what I would run. And so with Blood Spawn, I'm going to be where I want to be as far as tankiness goes. I have good crit resist, obviously, and my damage will be there. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys the blue bars for what's going to happen here. But when you go into a fight, you're going to want to hit with your Reflective Light for the snares. You're going to want to hit with your Soul Splitting Trap, and then you're going to hit with your Proxy Det. and then you're going to hit with your Solar Barrage, and you're going to get in and you're going to start sweeping. And all this is just a bunch of AoE pressure, and as you guys can see, like, my Magicka is not going down. And a lot of that is, I have a decent amount of recovery, but Overwhelming Surge is just topping me off because 15% of the damage that I do is coming back to me as Magicka. And so it's going to be a very nice set for that reason, for severely outnumbered fights. And then you can hit with your Crescent, and then you're going to do more damage. And yeah, so the way I see it, guys, I kind of like these bars per set. Like, I like the bar setup. As far as the gear goes, like I said, it's going to be up to you. Like, if you're a 4-man rit fighting a 24, you're going to want to slot Vicious Death. You're going to want to put Vicious Death on, maybe Vicious Death and Overwhelming Surge with Protective Jewelry. If you're fighting outnumbered like 2 or 3 on 10 and you want to go AoE, something like this would actually be really good. So you still have some good. I mean, you're going to have good damage single target, but this is more of like AoE, try and nuke as many people as possible. And as I said before, guys, like, if you can fit Grotdar on your bar and you think Grotdar is better than Bloodspawn because you can get your resistances where you want. Like, if you look at our resistances now, if we put 3 Protective on, we'd be at 33k spell, and then we would be at 26.7 physical, which isn't bad. With all the healing that we have, with all the healing from this and our Purifies, that may be enough. I don't know if it is, but it may be. But on top of that, we have we have extra pressure with Grotdar. And so this would just allow us to have more AoE to potentially take even more people out. I don't know if that's the way to go, but it's something to consider. And once again, like Overwhelming Surge is just going to be really nice for your magic sustain in an outnumbered fight. So I definitely try to fit it on your bar. I think it's worth a farm in this type of fight, like a severely outnumbered fight. I think this is going to be the go-to for a lot of AoE based builds. It's not as much pressure as it currently is, but it is a lot of AoE pressure, and the built-in little sustain allows you to get away with a little bit less recovery. Like, you saw, my bars were not really dropping. And so we could definitely get away with a lot less recovery, which means our damage will be even better. Our tooltips will be higher, and all those fun things. So that's going to be the end of this video. Like I said, Buffer of the Swift, Bloodspawn, and Overwhelming Surge is probably the route that I will go. Luckily, I have all of it because I'm a gear whore, and I love to hoard all this stuff. But yeah, it may be a little bit of a farm for you guys. If you're on Xbox and PC, or Xbox and PS4, you got a little bit of time before Scalebreaker drops to get this stuff done. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. Once again, if you guys have any other opinions on what you think would be better, maybe a skill that I missed or something like that, please chime in the section below. This is not finalized. This is not the best, build. This is just what I think is going to be very effective. So, thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.